So I want to start this video with a hypothetical about a random politician. We'll call him Politician X, right? He's in the press pool. A reporter goes, "What'd you have for breakfast today, Politician X?" Right? They go, I skipped breakfast this morning, but I had roast beef last night," right? Vague answer, classic politician answer, right? Then I see this on the TV. I go to three friends, right? One friend likes the politician, fairly neutral on him. One friend really loves the politician. Another friend hates the politician, right? We'll call him friend A, B, and C. Friend A, I go to him, he's pretty neutral on him. He goes, don't really care. I don't think it was much of a comment. I think it was just kind of, classic politician. I don't care, whatever, right? Friend B, who really likes him, goes, it was him, he's doing a message. He's doing a hidden message to all his classic supporters, that he's gonna give us all roast beef. He's an awesome guy, he's the best guy ever, he's giving us all roast beef, right? Then, friend C, big hater of the politician, goes, he was dodging the question, he probably ate people for breakfast, he's probably the worst person on earth, he probably, was doing demonic things this morning, and that's why he dodged that question. Three vastly different responses to very simple line of words, and it's because I believe that those words weren't words, that wasn't a sentence, that was a sketch. Because he left so much open there, so much up for interpretation, and it was such an interesting answer to that question, such a different answer, that he's almost sketching not an actual response, but the feeling of being given a response. I want to change this hypothetical now, right? This goes around, this thing, the exact same thing happens, exact same statement with the president, or politician X rather, he's not the president, he's Mr. X, but instead it becomes a scandal for some reason. This hits the news, and it's published in the New York Times with the headline, Politician X finds himself in a big scandal for messing with the reporter. Flirting with the reporter, we'll say. He's flirting with this reporter, and they believe it's a big scandal, right? I go to these same friends, A, B, and C. A, who's neutral on him, goes, I'm not really seeing that, I don't really, again, he's still fairly neutral. He doesn't really care. He goes, I guess I could see how it's flirting. Maybe he's flirting with her. Not appropriate he is. Don't really care, though. Friend B, who really likes him, goes, no, the press is just coming after him again. He's not flirting with the reporter. Those words were vague for some other reason, and he's perfect. He didn't do that. If he did do that, it doesn't matter, Friend C, suddenly, out of nowhere, is like, yeah, he was sleeping with that reporter this morning. That's why he said that, because he was sleeping with her. Once again, now that this sketch has been framed in these three different ways, it is being interpreted. Not that it's been framed in three different ways. Now this sketch has been framed in one way, it's being interpreted three vastly different ways from how it was originally interpreted. In those original interpretations, nothing even came up about a scandal. There was not a single thing in there. But now, all the interpretations had to address a scandal, even though we're dealing with the exact same series of words. Those words being, I skipped breakfast this morning, but I had roast beef last night. For no reason. Those words are exactly the same. For no reason other than this headline, they're being interpreted in three different ways, right? I think that's the power of a sketch, because the reality is that I think friend A, B, and C would relatively come away with the same conclusion. Friend A, who's fairly neutral on politician X, ended up coming out with the same fairly neutral perspective. He goes, I don't really care. I think it's overblown. And, probably same fairly neutral perspective on the guy. Friend B, who really likes him, still really likes him. He goes, if he didn't do it, it's good. If he did do it, I don't care. And if it's not real, he's sending a message to all of us because he's awesome. He's the best guy ever. Friend C, who hated him to begin with, still hates him. I think that this idea of a sketch is so powerful not because of the sketch itself, but rather because of what the sketch tells us about the people who perceive the sketch. Like I said, none of these people have any reason to believe really any of the things they said, but they do because they were going to believe them anyways. And by leaving so much up for interpretation, it allows the receiver of the message to fill in that interpretation, those interpretable elements, with the things they were already going to think. So a sketch will always tell people what they want to hear. I think maybe that's why politicians are so famous for them, why they're so good at giving those answers. Because that's all they can really do, is tell the viewer what they already wanted to hear. So why am I talking about all this? Well, I'm talking about this in a rare instance on this show of me making a full episode, a short episode likely, dedicated to these paintings, because I'm doing this series, right? Heads up, fair heads up for those of you watching daily, this series is probably going to last a little while. I'm really enjoying them. I think they could end up being something good. I'm sorry if you don't like that, but this is going to be the first series to last for a little while, I think, because I think it's an interesting angle, right? It's going to change over time. I've been doing the same thing the last couple of days. It's going to change for sure, but relatively the same stuff. But sorry for the side tangent there. The reason I'm saying that is because that's why I think this series is so interesting, because I genuinely think that, there's emotion that I place into these, and there's my own interpretation of all these, but that interpretation is only as good as I allow it to be in my own mind. You know what I mean? If I'm thinking going into one of these, I want to paint terror, and I paint a sketch of terror, to me, it will always look like terror, because those blank spaces in the sketch, the place where the lines doesn't quite hit, will always be filled in with lines of terror. I'll never fill those in with, maybe there's a joyous interpretation of the image somewhere in there. I'm not going to look at those lines, though, because I framed it in my own mind to be about lines of terror. That's why I think this series is so interesting. There's oh my god, I want to say this is literally a TikTok that I saw in like 2018 or something, where they were going, the reason your sketch always looks so good before you ink it is because your mind is only looking at the lines they want to look at. It's filling in the missing information with the best possible outcome that your imagination can make. And I think since then I've been kind of obsessed with the idea of sketches, because I think there's something so interesting about leaving something unfinished and letting the viewer be a part of the art with their own interpretation of it. Because, maybe it's not as visually pleasing as a full image, but I think it'll always let you feel more. I think that's why art with scratchy brushes that's a little bit more raw is always so interesting to people. I think that's why people like it so much in comparison to the clean stuff of the Renaissance, because I think it allows, in those imperfections, in those unfinished moments, for the viewer to finish it themselves with what they want the painting to look like. And I think that's why I really like sketches. That's why I think I'm so interested in them. And that's why I think this series of paintings that I'm doing, where I am just sketching out a painting and not finishing it fully, and going for a feeling, I think that's why I like it and why I'm so attached to the idea of it, because I do think it has potential. Maybe I think that right now because it's only a sketch of a series so far. I haven't actually filled it to what I want it to be. Maybe that's why I feel that way. That often happens when I'm making stuff, but that's why I do this show, to figure that kind of thing out. But the point is, that's why I like this. That's why I've been doing this series, and that's how I believe that through using different brushes, maybe getting a different grit to the brush, and framing it in a way, by titling it something, it's able to evoke a feeling better than a finished painting ever could. That's why I think I'm so attached to this series right now. And that's why I'm going to continue it. I really like it. It's been my favorite series so far. It's probably going to be the longest one on this channel. Like I said, these are kind of looking the same so far, but I promise they'll look very different soon as I kind of get a grasp on the direction I want to take things here. But yeah, I think it's interesting, and I'd love to hear what your thoughts on the power of sketches. I know a lot of people have DM'd me that they draw and they paint while they watch this. I love to hear your thoughts on, like, what do you see in your own sketches? Because I think that might be able to tell us a lot about ourselves. I'm a pretty confident person, and I always see the best drawing possible when I sketch something, and I think that says a lot. I know a lot of friends who are a little less confident, and they see something worse in their sketches, and they need to finish something to see something good. I think that's interesting, and I think that, if I were to take a piece like this and title it Terror, or like, I have no mouth but I must scream, something like that, right? And people look at this, I don't think they're going to see my painting. I think they're going to see a painting that tells them about their own terror, and that's why I'm so interested in this. I don't think I'm skilled enough to do that yet, by the way. I don't think this is a completion of that. I don't think this is at all completing that idea. But that's why I'm continuing, because I think it can. This is a little bit of a different episode of Paint and Talk. Definitely more so for the people who are here every day. So thank you to you all, or even the people that are tuning in maybe once a week and just have seen this series. If you're new here, if you're an artist, I hope you got something out of this. I really do. I think sketches are deeply interesting to me. So yeah, this will be up this week with probably a reel about this exact same topic. I hope you enjoyed this episode, a little shorter, a little different. Be back with the normal stuff tomorrow. So until next time, guys, gals, and pals, my name is Max Dice. This has been Paint and Talk episode 140. I'm here every morning, painting and talking with you all.